TV on YouTube. Appreciate that as well. I guess we'll start with the immediate here to start the show, which, I wondered what that was going to look and sound like. And I've said this a lot lately. I like to bring it to people's attention, and I'll bring it again to people's attention. It's just because what I read and see, whether it's a tweet or a message board post or a comment on the YouTube channel or whatever means by which you see reaction, read reaction, hear reaction from these coaches' press conferences in moments like this. It's not just here. I mean, this is the same anywhere in which the coach is in peril, like the job is it's slipping away from him. The fans are angry. Any place where that's happening, the comments section or the commentary surrounding the weekly coaches' availability with the press is usually the same. It's usually, well, he's still not doing anything about it, or he's not this or not that. And I think when you reach this place, there's no real answer other than what we think is going to happen and when it's going to happen. I mean, there's nothing that he can do or say. Well, there's something he could do, but there's nothing he can say at one of these availabilities that I think is going to make anybody happy. And I would suggest, I can't tell anybody what to do, but I would just, if it frustrates you, if it angers you, if it causes you to have to relive your aggravation, then you got to understand that maybe you just leave it alone, man, because you're not going to get anything new at these availabilities. The head coach, frankly, in about 47 different ways, said that he failed and that he's failing and that he is understanding of the fact that that you're right to be pissed and that the standard isn't being met. He's not winning games. He's failed to win games. This is I just don't know what he's going to say. Would I handle certain things differently? We all would. We all have an opinion on that. Would I maybe phrase certain things differently? I suppose so. Delivery is an issue for him. He does struggle to slow things down and speak not coherently. He's coherent, but it is usually sort of it's a lot of filler. There's a lot of filler in there. I think he's trying to be so careful and parse the words in his head before he delivers them, so he fills the gaps of silence in between with us and you-knows, and that's difficult to listen to. They teach you against doing those kinds of things in public speaking, but he's a head football coach. That's what he is. So you're going to get more of that, especially in times of duress and frustration and anger and fear. The one thing I can't stand is if a coach will not take responsibility or not accept. You'll see coaches get indignant when they're questioned about performance. Now, we've watched that happen many times where guys feel like their resume or even their depth of knowledge compared to the average fan leaves them in a position to be devoid of criticism by reporters and fans and boosters and alumni and administrators. And that never plays well. In fact, that's the worst kind of reaction. that kind of hubris where they don't feel as if they have to answer to anybody for the job that's not being done just because they have a greater depth of knowledge about the subject of football. That'd be like getting a terrible meal at a nice restaurant and having the chef, after having butchered your order, become indignant when you say, this isn't what I ordered, this isn't cooked, this is terrible. You know more about cooking than I do, but I can tell you what this tastes like. Fans don't have to know why or how a play works or doesn't work. They know when they add up to losses. They know when you're being paid $10 million a year that you ought not lose 9 straight ACC games. They know that there's a standard here for success that he's not living up to. So at least he's not doing that. He's not pissing down your leg and telling you it's raining. He's not doing any of that. He is saying, this isn't it. We're not good enough. It's my fault. The standard's not being lived up to. All I know to do is to go back to work and try to get it to where I think I can get it to and expect to get it to. I don't, other than him saying I resign or, my acumen for this position is such that it's obvious I'm not fit for this job. What's he going to, what do you want him to say? I just don't. I see a lot of that now, and it's because there is so much anger and so much frustration. And I'm right there with the people that are frustrated and angry. And I'm right there with all of those who call out, this isn't good enough. And we do that on a daily basis. That seems self-evident, but you can lay bare the many reasons that it's not acceptable. And you can have that conversation. While at the same time, be understanding of the fact that there's just not a good way to have these availabilities for him and have it come across as anything other than what occasionally sounds like excuse making or disillusionment, or you'll when he says, I have to believe, and I do believe long term we'll get this fixed. I think that's every coach in America who's in his position. As long as you're still employed, it's another opportunity to change the direction that you've been going, and you have to believe that. If you don't, then you shouldn't be in the position. Now, we can say he ought not be in the position, but he is. He is in the position. They have not fired him. So he has to tell himself, I can make this better. I can save my job. I can put these kids in a better position to succeed. I can, week to week, do everything in my power, like I'm paid to do, to try to get this team prepared to win a football game. And that's what he has to do. It's what he's tasked to do until they tell him no more. But I don't take any great joy in this. He's a good man. It's failed. He's failed. He should be fired. Until he is, this is going to be uncomfortable.
There's a large segment of any fan base going through like this that is looking for a cope. How can they cope with it? And I think what you're describing is that you tune into the press conference knowing that you're doing so you can get angry all over again. You're not doing it to look for a silver lining. You're not doing it to look for the magic words that make it all better. You're doing it so you can yell at him through your computer screen or your TV screen all over again and be angry about it. Just call it what it is and admit that. Now, there's a significant portion of the fan base that will watch it just because it's a car wreck and they want to see how it ends up. But I hear you. I sometimes get frustrated when I see comments that say, why is he doing this? Like, well, why are you tuning in? You know what you're doing. That would be, my mom used to tune into Jerry Springer every once in a while for 10 seconds. Go, oh, this is inappropriate. I'm like, then why do you keep doing it? I think you want to see the inappropriate so that you can comment on the inappropriate. So just either cut it loose or call it for what it is. Understand that you want to lob some vegetables through your computer screen at this guy, and that's fine.
Low-hanging fruit.
It's a coping mechanism. I understand it. We're all very angry. We don't know where to put it other than, metaphorically speaking, at the feet of Mike Norvell and or the administration. It's just, this week has been a total bummer because we all know what's going to happen here, or what certainly should happen here, and yet you're holding these pressers and you schedule it and you allow the schedule to continue because it was previously put together where the coordinators speak before the head man after this. It's just these last 24 hours, 28 hours have been.
That was scheduled, though.
You can change that. I mean,
Tom, the schedule was the schedule. We're not deviating from the schedule.
I mean, Gus could have done better than, I'm the offensive coordinator. I don't know nothing about nothing.
Well, none of his press availabilities are interesting.
No, they're not. But the point is, if you're going to keep him at least for 6 more weeks or whatever your plan is behind the scenes, I wouldn't make the coordinators the first line of communication with the program after the athletic director makes a statement. I don't know. I would ask Mike. Well, I would have demanded, Mike, you go first, because your guys are going to catch strays here for more than just their own failures on their own side of the football. You're going to get all this extra subtext, which is very, very annoying, but it's going to happen, man. That this press conference happened today lets you know. Saturday against Wake, 7:30 p.m. He's running out that tunnel.
I don't say what I say, and I didn't say what I just said to chide fans for being angry. That's certainly not what I am trying to do. I see a repetition over and over again after these games when his availability, we get him on a Monday or a Tuesday and he's going to answer these questions, and there's not going to be an answer that makes a loss a win. There's not an answer that is going to tell you that everything is going to be okay, that he has the magic elixir, and that any day now this is going to turn around and Florida State's going to get back to their winning ways. We're going to return to the time in which he won 19 straight, that the players are going to play hard every play, be put in positions to succeed, execute perfectly, and all of a sudden the program's on a roll again. I think we all know that's not going to happen. We all know that has slipped through his hands. He'll spend a long time wondering how that happened. He'll have to revamp and review everything that he did that led to this moment in time. There's no doubt. That time will happen whenever it happens, which is when he's relieved of his duties. And I think he will be. I can't say when. Obviously, they didn't do it this week. I think, maybe the thought is, again, a lot of these jobs that are open or soon to be coming open, there's stuff going on behind the scenes. There's positioning, maneuvering. There's negotiations of salary. There's, obligation to mitigate. There's all of that stuff. And so there are things that are happening that are probably out of my purview, but it doesn't seem to make sense. It certainly makes the situation pretty untenable, as I've said repeatedly, because you end up with these kinds of Q&As, which nobody did anything wrong. The questions are the questions, but there's just no answer that is going to satisfy anybody.
They must have run some sort of cost-benefit analysis that tells them that whatever the cost to the morale of the fan base, whatever the cost to the morale of the locker room, is worth the benefit of something else.
Of waiting until I think you're right. I've been doing a lot of thinking about this because I don't have that answer. I think they're waiting till December, but I don't know why. Now, you can say they can't do anything until December in terms of hiring or firing anybody because the people that they would want to talk to still have jobs.
Yeah.
So they would maybe say, look, a lot of this can't be done. Like if I'm throwing out
it's amazing what Penn State and Florida were able to do then. Very courageous acts.
Well, I think that Penn State, I already told you why I think they did what they did. That was to get him to be first on the market so that they could get that salary offset. In the offset language, because they want as many bidders as possible for him to get that job and to be the first hired. He's also a big name. He'll get hired. Mike Norvell's not getting hired tomorrow. Franklin's got a chance to get hired. And I don't think Billy Napier is, people aren't knocking down his door right now.
Right.
Franklin would be.
So is Florida's administration more gutsy?
No, because they're under attack already. I mean, they don't have a sitting president for 2 years, and they've got an athletic director who's said to wield no authority, that the Bull Gators are making this move. And they waited well beyond the time period that people wanted them to wait. Most people wanted Napier fired last year.
Yep.
So they waited. In many ways, they waited. I think that Strickland, who is, again, on shaky ground, and for good reason, got a reprieve because their basketball team won the national championship. And
football had a good November last year.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that stuff that behind the scenes that goes on there, that negotiating with the same super agent or agency, I think, is what leads to some of the stuff behind the scenes that we're not hearing or seeing, and would maybe give us an answer that we don't have.
But then it's fair to say that the message to the fan base is you're going to go through some extra problems. They're going to be
you're gonna
issues.
wear some issues at the stadium when people boo, and it's gonna be a bad look.
Right. And this whole being stuck between thing, you're just going to have to deal, guys, because we've got bigger fish to fry.
And
that's what they're telling you.
Yeah, but they can't say that, so that's why there's nothing, and you just get that statement that says he'll be here until the end of the year.
My question is why not? Because if we all understand where this is going, then why couldn't you just say it out loud? Does that give you less leverage if you're trying to structure payments a little bit differently than is already said in the contract? I mean, the agent can read the room. He understands what you said on Monday. If you're trying to have a secondary conversation that's outside the purview of a contract with a mic or a coordinator or an assistant, whatever it is, whatever you're trying to do to get your ducks in a row, they know what you're going to do anyway. I don't know. I don't understand what the benefit could be, short of there being a provision that is spelled out in black and white in Mike Norvell's contract that says that the buyout drops by $8 million on a certain calendar date. But even then, what you're about to put this fan base through for the next 6 weeks and the recruiting class that's going to be lost piece by piece.
No, there's an argument that they're trying to salvage that by not firing him.
Yeah, I brought up that devious example last week where you could fire Mike after the early signing period is over and the kids are locked in, and then you have your new head coach come in and he has 5 days after the announcement to try to win him over. But I would think that most of these kids now have representation that they didn't have before NIL that'll say, no, he's not going to be there. So be sure you're saying yes to the hymn to the garnet and gold and not Mike Norvell wearing a polo with a Florida State logo, because he ain't going to be there. Kids are smarter because they have better representation now. I don't know. I don't know what the benefit could be, and it's very frustrating.
I don't know what the benefit is, and I don't know what again, I don't believe that it is whimsical. Like, I think there was a very specific reason. Now, I'd be naive if I told you that money wasn't a big part of that. It is not the only part of it. It is a huge part of it. I think they've had to pivot as to where they're going to get the money. And that does require some jumping through hoops and your attention elsewhere. So maybe that's part of it.
Sure. To play that out, I understand where this is kind of in the dark. It's the invisible hand stuff. But in 2026, you're paying Mike Norvell no matter what. You're either paying him full freight and he keeps on parking in his parking spot outside of Moore, or you're paying him 80% of full freight and he's elsewhere and we don't need to see him again. So you have the money for that no matter what, right? So they're thinking about the money for the next thing and getting the money for the next thing.
Well, remember, okay, let's just say, and again, I'll bring this up as a hypothetical. So I'm Mike Norvell and my agent is Jimmy Sexton. My agent is everybody's agent. He is the puppet master. There are a couple of other big-time agents in college football. There's an interesting conversation, by the way, behind the scenes about how that power struggle, agency got shook up recently, and a couple people went here, and Jimmy retained these clients, but not these clients. In the end, Mike chose to stay with Jimmy. That's all I'll say. I'll fast forward the conversation that nobody wants me to have. I'll just say Mike chose to stay with Jimmy. Jimmy retained a lot of his people, lost a couple. If you are, let's say, the agent for James Franklin, Lane Kiffin, Mike Norvell, and just start going one by one, all these job openings that are out there right now. And you're going to have a hand in wherever it is they land. And you're going to have a hand at least bringing them to the table. This client could be one of 3 that are interviewed for the Arkansas job, the Oklahoma State job. These are all Virginia Tech fired their coach, right? We go on and on with all the places that have fired their coaches. Stanford fired their coach before. And you think, okay, well, my guy is going to want to go, if you're interested, to Oklahoma State. I'm just going to make that up, okay? That job interests him. It's from that area of the country that he's from. I understand you're not interested in him being the next head coach. Like in the case of Mike Norvell, you'd say, like, I understand you don't want him to be your next head coach, but he's always wanted to coach there, and he'd be interested in being a receivers coach. All right. And so let's say there's mutual interest. Like, oh, well, who we're thinking about hiring is somebody he worked with before and thinks very highly of him. He would maybe be interested in retaining and having Mike on his staff and to be a receivers coach. Oh, well, that's great. Give me a little time here. Let's start to work out and see if we can make this work. My guy's currently employed, though, and he's doing a job right now. He's in season. He's not really going to be able to talk to you seriously until, say, December. Okay. All right. But give me some time in the dark over here to figure it out, to figure out what pieces fit where and whether or not they'd even be interested, right? Meanwhile, I've got to figure out which of my clients, hopefully, Florida State's interested in, or Florida's interested in, or Penn State's interested in. And I'm juggling all of this to figure out, all right, well, this guy wasn't a fit here, but he's a graduate there, and he is a fit. He wants that job. If my client is Jed Fish and he wants the Florida job, would they even be interested? And if so, what would that staff look like? Well, Fish has told me he wants this, this, and this. Oh, okay, well, maybe that could happen. So I think that's the kind of wrangling behind the scenes where we're talking about buyouts and what percentage of the money is going to be owed. And, oh, by the way, can we offset some of this because of the language in the contract, especially if I'm going to turn right around and hire one of your other contracts? Can't you cut us a break here and make sure this gets done in a timely fashion so that we're only paying this amount? That kind of stuff. I think it gets pretty complicated pretty quickly. Now, you might say, and you might be right, I don't think any of it matters to the extent that you couldn't announce that Mike Norvell is no longer the head coach at Florida State. You might.
Yeah, I would say that many of those, if not all of those conversations, would be exactly the same with or without the action on Mike Norvell. And perhaps somebody in the athletic department would say that's naive. Maybe.
Well, or they'd tell you don't know what is triggered the second you fire him.
Sure. It just feels as though you've got a utility bill. You've already used the utilities. And you've got the money to pay for that utility bill, but you're afraid of what next month's utility bill is going to cost, so I'm not going to pay the one that I already owe. I mean, unless you're truly considering keeping him for next year. Are they truly considering keeping him for next year?
I don't believe so, no. No, I don't think that is in consideration. But again, certain things are triggered when firings happen, when they're made official. You're trying to maneuver on the chessboard. There's a lot that goes on. Not everybody who's going to fire their coach has done so the way Penn State did, or the way that Arkansas did, or that Oklahoma State did, right? Oklahoma State reached a place where, my God, they weren't competing.
Sure.
I mean, they lose 63-3 or 69-3 or whatever the hell that was to Oregon. They didn't even get on the bus. They might as well not played the game. That is different looking than Florida State losing by a possession every week. Now, we might know that the guy's fired either way, but those are two different things.
Losing to Stanford by any possession is the equivalent of losing by 40 to a team with a pulse.
It's not the equivalent of losing 52-3 to Notre Dame, though, which was last year, where they weren't competing at all in any way, shape, or form. It is a different looking team, but I'm saying it is a different looking football team this year than last. I'm not making an argument to keep him.
I know you're not.
What I'm stating is that there's nuance to it, and I'm smart enough to know that there is, and you are too. And I'm not trying to but what I'm saying is that there is probably some stuff behind the scenes that we don't know of. That if we were made to be aware, we might say, "Oh, okay, I guess I understand that." Listen, I feel like the statement wasn't a great statement. It wasn't thoroughly thought out. They didn't do a good job of vetting that. It seems hurried and ill-prepared, and they opened themselves up to the criticism that they've received this week without question.
Yeah.
But I'm also willing to say that I think there may be more to it than just deciding we're moving on from Mike.
Yes, and what they came to a conclusion to in the back room was you fans are just going to have to eat it. And you know that sentence we said about putting Norvell and the 2025 Seminoles in the best position to succeed? No, we're fine with that dying on the vine too, because we understand that leaving him in the room with those kids who have already checked out on him means that the likelihood is we're going to get smoked many more times, because while they hadn't quit on him before Stanford, there's every chance that they have quit on him after Stanford. And you could argue they did during the game in Stanford due to many reports and the things we saw with our own eyes on the sidelines, if you're Irish O'Fell and anybody that was in the building. But so the fans are just going to have to eat it, and that locker room might be totally toxic right now, and we're not going to help it because we need to help over here in order to set the stage and set the course for the long term. And y'all are just going to have to deal.
Yes.
And that's what that statement says without saying it.
Yes.
You're going to give us 6 weeks.
I think that's true.
Now, I know they can't ever release that statement, but I'd have more respect for that statement.
But they can't say that. And that's why they didn't say that. And that's why this all appears the way that it does. And it makes people uncomfortable and angry. But I do think it's sort of a, who cares? We got to get this right. We got to get this in order. And I can't be worried about the season tickets that are already paid for, I might add. Whether they're occupied or not is two different things. Those tickets are already paid for, by the way. We got our money from those. Now, if I'm taking the other side here, I'm saying, I mean, boy, oh boy, are you sowing the seeds of?
Yeah, you want renewals from your boosters?
I'm just letting you know that there is a temporary discomfort that they're going to be willing to live with that's passed on to you while they try to figure out the big picture stuff. You know, and I don't know another way to say that.
Yeah. That's what their actions are telling you. Unless they're going to keep them. That's the only other thing that they would do.
I don't think they're going to do that. And listen, again, I understand that the money is very significant in this whole equation. I also know, and you'll hear people say, they cannot afford to fire him. They do not have the money to pay him. And that is simply not true the way it's structured. They can afford to fire him. They can and will fire him. And they can afford to pay him. Not that it's not a hell of a kick to the boys. Not that it's not problematic. Not that it doesn't take some maneuvering that they were hoping not to have to do. But they can and will. So it's not that. Now, I don't think there's any doubt that they were hoping for some help from a couple of people that they've called one too many times for help. And maybe those people said, I ain't giving it. Find it somewhere else. We're tapped out over here. If that's me, if Cameron's the billionaire and you've called me and I had to pony up $4 million here, $7 million there, $6 million here, then I got to give you another $2 million for the founders box. And then I got $1,500 a seat at my loge. And then I got to do this. And at some point I'm like, hey man, there are other people out there. I'm done writing checks to you. I think some of that happened for sure.
100%. Here's the last thing I would argue on this point, though, is I think it is so over that I would rather that they just fire him and save 20 cents on the dollar, even if you don't replace him next year. I think it's more healthy for this program to not replace him and pay the buyout. If you really don't have any new money, how about you save 20% of the money that you had committed? I think it's that bad. Because it's broken again. It was broken last year. Mm-hmm. You patchworked it together. All right. Great start to the season. It's broken again. Same guy. If in theory, and I know that they do, I know what you're saying, but would you agree with me? Let's just say that they didn't have any new dollars. Whatever they've committed to next year is what they have. Wouldn't you rather just save the 20% and fire him and pay the buyout and use that 20% elsewhere? I think you'd be better off than letting him continue to command and helm the ship.
I'm it's a bad position to be in right now because I think there are some things that would help illuminate and further the discussion about where we're at and what we should be doing and how soon it can happen. And there are also aspects of the discussion I think we could be having soon enough that will be enjoyable because no matter what, at the end of the day, we all kind of love a good coaching search. We do. We want to know who's coming in. But until we get past this thing that just sits there like a weight, an albatross around our neck, you can't further the discussion. You can only speculate. And sports talk radio is filled with speculation. It's opinion and speculation. It's a lot of those things, and it's fun. It's why we engage together every day. I just think that once you've reached a place where that velocity has hit a wall, you're just kind of stuck, and it's a bad place to be in because short of throwing more stones, I mean, and I'll just say this again, I feel like our approach to this is just to state the opinion straightforward. He should be fired, should have already been fired. I would have fired him last year. I don't know any other way to say it. I don't dislike Mike. In fact, I like Mike. I wish him well moving forward. I hope he figures out what went wrong here and then improves upon himself as a coach and has a good career somewhere. I got nothing against that guy, but I don't think he should be the head coach at Florida State any longer. And I'm really interested to see what our school does moving forward because they're in between a rock and a hard place. College football is changing by the day. It's fascinating to watch all of this play out. And I don't know what the answer is. I just know that this guy's not it. And it's time to move on. And I've said it a million ways. And I don't know any other way to say it. And I'm certainly not going to lob, hateful ad hominem discussions towards Mike because I like Mike. I don't think he's a bad guy. He's worked really hard. He acknowledged that today. I thought it was interesting to me that he felt it important for people to know that it's not for a lack of trying. Like he's admitting I failed. It's not working. The standard's not being met. But I promise you it's not because I haven't worked really hard at this. I value this. I'm appreciative of this. I care deeply about it. I think that's all true. It's just interesting he felt compelled to say it because he knows the vitriol. He knows the anger. He knows the frustration. And he knows that he's let down just with job performance. Some people that he really respects and likes that are alumnus and boosters and supporters and people that have come to his aid. He knows.
And he will bring that humility when he talks to kids in the transfer portal in January of 26 about coming to Florida State and fixing this thing.
No, he won't. He won't get that opportunity. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Craving something different? Discover the bold and surprising flavors of Peru at Café de Martín. From sizzling lomo saltado to savory handmade empanadas, every dish is made with heart, history, and soul. Crafted by classically trained Chef Martín himself. It's not just food. It's a trip to Peru without the plane ticket. Swing by Café de Martín today and taste the tradition. Café de Martín. Authentic Peruvian. Right around the corner.
Here's the cold, hard truth. Your body needs more than you're giving it to stay healthy. And now it's easier than ever with Vigor, the all-new cold plunge tub from Hot Spring Spas. Available only at Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas in Tallahassee. Cold plunges reduce muscle soreness, boost mood, improve sleep, and so much more. It's not just a trend, it's science-backed wellness. And now you can have it in your own home. Ready to feel alive again? Pinch a Penny has the exclusive home use solution. Visit us on Capitol Circle Northeast and take the plunge.
Budget Blinds of Tallahassee is your local window covering experts. They do it all. Blinds, shades, drapery, shutters, even home automation. And they'll be there with you from the design to the measuring to the installation. Budget Blinds is with you every step of the way.
Hello, I'm Gary, the local owner of Budget Blinds of Tallahassee. Let us help you with your unique window treatment needs. Call us at 668-4835 for a free in-home consultation or find us online at budgetblinds.com/Tallahassee.
What makes Paul's Termite and Pest Control the best in North Florida?
It's our core values, of course, and they happen to spell Paul's.
P, protecting you and your pets from pests and your property from termites.
A, accept personal responsibility. At Paul's, we realize it's up to us to get things right and strive to do more than's expected.
U, uphold company values. Those values include treating others with respect and understanding we represent Paul's Pest Control on and off the clock.
L, look the part. As representatives of this great company, we will always make sure that our image matches the character of Paul's.
S, support the team. Every job we do is a total team effort to create a supportive workplace.
P, protecting you, your pets, and your property. A, accept personal responsibility. U, uphold company values. L, look the part. S, support the team. Paul's core values. They make us the best.
For the elimination of termites and other pests.
And a greener lawn, too.
Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
Services, Compass just a call away. 222-7722. AC and electric is what we do. Service, repairs, and installation too. 222-7722. Parker Services, Compass just a call away.
Is your home ready for anything? At Parker Services AC and Electrical, we do more than just keep you cool. We keep your whole home running smoothly. From AC maintenance and duct cleanings to whole home generator installations, we've got everything you need for comfort and reliability. Join our Peak Performance membership to keep your HVAC system in top shape and catch issues before they turn into costly repairs. And with a reliable generator, you'll never be left in the dark again. Call Parker Services today, where comfort is just a call away.
Parker Services, comfort's just a call away.
Florida license number CMC 0503334 and EC 1301240.
From the championship stage to coaching change and everything in between, Warchant.com remains your home for the best FSU football coverage in the business. Brutally honest columns and features, market-leading multimedia presence across video and podcast, the largest FSU fan community with a staff that combines for over 100 years of experience covering the Noles. When change comes, Warchant.com is your home for analysis from every angle. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Sign up today.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you being part of the infinitely frustrating discussion of finding ourselves right back to where we didn't want to be. It's hard, man. I get it. Man, there are just days where I think, goodness gracious, again with this, but it's where we're at. It's where we're at, and it's not easy to take. It's also our reality. And I think that, you get to a place where, for me anyhow, I'm still going to dig behind the scenes to find out any little nugget as to why this is taking as long as it is, or what has to happen, or what's the next shoe to drop, which would be an indicator to us that something's about to happen. I'm trying to find the next trigger that we're like, oh, hey, guys, good news. This seems to me to mean, but nothing's happened this week that way. It's a bye week. This is where being a bye week is tough. You got to wait a little longer. I'll just say this. I don't know this to be true, but Tom, if they go out there and lose to Wake by, well, really you could argue any margin, but if they go out there and get housed by Wake, I don't think they're going to stick by this. We're waiting until December thing.
I wish I could believe that, but the Stanford example is as stark as it gets. The scoreboard doesn't look ridiculous, but the scoreboard looks ridiculous because it's Stanford. It's insane. It's insane. And so if they lose, if they give an homage to the bagpipes from Cameron Show of yore,
yeah,
and they lose 30-0, I'm not going to bank on it. This is offensive where we are right now. Like, that is the question. What is the material benefit to the athletic department? Monetarily, it has to be money. What is the material benefit to the athletic department to put the fan base in that locker room through this charade for longer than it needed to be? Why? And I wish we knew the answer, because it better be a heap of money. Because if it's over like $1.5 million or $2 million, no, I'll never forgive for this. This is absurd. But if it's something like $8 to $10 million, all right, now there is a price.
Everybody's got one,
price.
buddy.
I'm like, well, where you go, I understand what they were doing. I don't like it, but I understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Something else that's happening in the world of sports that would piss off this fan base greatly, and that is that the Giants, and I find this shocking, Tony Vitello, who is a clown, but a very successful clown at that in the world of college baseball, is about to be in Major League Baseball. According to Jeff Passett and others, he is finalizing a deal to become the next manager of the San Francisco Giants. I find this shocking on a lot of levels, by the way. First of all, it would be that Buster Posey would hire that guy. The two could not be any different, more different, I should say. One is all class, all is everything you want in a leader who was on the field, and now one behind it, a guy that is just the antithesis of Tony Vitello in both actions and deed and word. And then I would say that the other part that I guess has me wondering about whether or not this works. And listen, there's no doubt we're starting to see a change in that sport too. Pat Murphy was a college baseball lifer before getting the job with the Milwaukee Brewers, and has done a hell of a job. And there they sit, and so that's a little different. I guess that's starting to be a thing now, where college coaches for many years were not. I mean, there have been plenty of college coaches that went on to coach in the majors, but it was not the typical career path for a college baseball coach. So I wonder how Tony Vitello's personality would jive in a 162 game season. Not 40, 162 games where this dude acting as he does to grown-ups making way more than he'll make, having to go out there and do that on a daily basis. Can you imagine the first time that rat ass freaks out and it's week 2 of the season and he's screaming down some guy? Like, you're about to get an ass beaten.
Yeah, if it's in his own clubhouse, in his
That's
own
what I mean.
dugout, yes. But if it's an umpire, like, oh, it's the next Lou Piniella. All right.
Lou had a lot of respect. Lou played the game at an elite level for a long time for people like the Yankees. Like Lou had respect. This guy. So we'll see. The other part of this is that immediately Florida State fans are going to say, well, what if Tennessee calls Link Jarrett? This is the constant fear we live in as Florida State fans. Frankly, if you're a fan of any program in the ACC and an SEC job comes open or a Big Ten job comes open, this is in perpetuity until we're out of here, the fear that you have that money talks and you can't have as much of it to offer as the schools in those 2 leagues do. And I don't know about you, but Link Jarrett is extremely well thought of in the college baseball world. Let's not forget that at Notre Dame, he walked in to Knoxville and knocked off Tennessee in a super regional for the right to go to the College World Series. Beat him head-to-head in his house. Not easy to do. Was on the brink of doing it out in Omaha. If not for that collapse by the bullpen, would have. And I say that to say he's very much going to be on their radar. They know exactly who he is. Now, it may not matter. He's back home at his alma mater. He loves Tallahassee. He grew up here. There's a lot of ties to Tallahassee, Florida State, the tradition here, all of it. But it does make you a little nervous. A little nervous. Just because, again, I would think everybody's got their price. There's another aspect to this. I got to take a break because we went so long to start. But our attitudes towards NIL and how to raise money and run a program and pay people to visit and stay and play we better be on par with that. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The Quincy Police Department is investigating a shooting. Investigated and remains pending. This is Rachel Lene with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Bright sunshine expected this afternoon with a high of 81. Winds out of the north, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows around 50 tonight, clear skies. Mainly clear tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 80. Bright sunshine expected Friday with highs around 82. 81 Saturday. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 75.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark Construction.com. We conquer all peaks. We fix those darn leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark Construction.com.
License number CCC 1331204.
Hey, Jeff, what's up, buddy? I was just thinking, They never tell you that when you grow up, one of the things that you'll miss are the games that you created with your friends in the neighborhood.
Wow, good days.
So I would have my buddy come over, and then we'd make up these games that were kind of like a hodgepodge of every game that you've ever played.
Kind of like the bikes we built.
Correct. Yes. And it's a grand experiment. In the beginning, nobody knows how to play the game, and you argue about what the rules are going to be. And in the end, everybody knows how to play the game. By the end of that summer, you know the rules, the neighborhood know the rules, and you play that game like it's the greatest game ever played.
And you still try to break the rules, right?
Oh, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But at the end, Eddie, you're never going to play it again, and you'll think about it the rest of your life.
And the best game you ever played was that game.
Never been a better one.
Hey, you want to have a Gordo Smash, Jeff?
I do. I'd like that. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Tom, can you believe it? I know our audience can't wait for me to bring it up. The Bank of Utah Championship is underway. It's tomorrow.
Oh, thank God. A great distraction from our current problems in our lives.
My golf league is back underway here. It's time for your boy to win a session. The likes of Alex Norton and Griot and Kurt Kitayama.
How many sessions have you won in the last year?
A few. I've done well.
A few?
Well, I think I won the last session going away. The one before I think I won, or the one, maybe the penultimate one. I can't remember. Like 2 of the last 3.
It's incredible. When you think about how hard it is to win an ACC football game, I'm very impressed that you've won that many sessions.
Well, you got to do the research. You got to take the time, Tom. You got to put your team in a position to succeed. You got to do. You got to know the numbers.
It sounds like you conducted a comprehensive assessment of what was necessary.
I did.
To win sessions.
To the point where, so there's everybody in their respective fantasy football leagues and stuff, and then there's the guy that goes all the way to pay for the pay service, where they're like, I'm tired of getting my ass whooped in fantasy every year. And seeing guys like Tom and Matt Millar and others win this league, I'm done with it. I'm going to pay the $20 a month to find out what Dr. Roto thinks about whatever, you know what I mean? And they do it. That's how those guys get rich. It's like we have the answers. I mean, that's what happens. But it's different in golf. In golf, there's Data Golf. I pay for Data Golf, partly because I love it, but I also am not just in my sessions. I'm in the weekly fantasy for golf, and
you've
naturally,
seen
I've seen a return on investment.
That's right. You've seen expenses being met with profit, revenue that exceeds the expenses.
That is correct. That's what profit is.
That's right. I don't know if you've heard of this word.
So yeah, man, that's kind of what happens. It's people you get tired of things. Hey,
you do get tired of things. I can speak to that.
Let me tell you something. The Data Golf numbers, or the cost of the monthly subscription for Data Golf is almost nothing. It's peanuts. It's worth your time, and we love it because
over under $9.99 a month.
I think that's about it. I think that's right. I think I pay like $10 a month.
Did you use coupon code SAVE150?
I did not. I just got it one day. I was like, damn it, I'm interested in this because of the cool things that it does. Like, it's not just like, oh, these players seem to fit this course best. You could go into it. You could spend a lot of time at the computer looking at the Data Golf numbers, and you'll find all kinds of weird things. Like, look at that. 5 years in a row, Kurt Kitayama led the field in Utah with his irons. That's no fluke, my friend. He loves this course.
I like how some people have fishing magazines or whatever it is now. They have a subscription to a fishing channel so they can get better at the tackling game or whatever the hell you call it. And you, sir,
game.
You've got, clearly I'm an enthusiast, but you've got the NFL Sunday ticket and you've got Data Golf.
No, those are my two things.
These are your things where you go, all right, I'm going to make a big hoagie, delicious sandwich for myself right now, and I'm going to go get some Data Golf done. I'm going to play some music. It's going to be a good Saturday morning. And I like that about you.
I I think it's so much fun when you go with the Sunday ticket because you're going to watch those games anyhow, or you'd go to a bar to watch those games. And this way you get to watch them at your house. And I made the investment in a 100-inch television, so I might as well get the bang for my buck. I can quad box that sucker and still have sizable televisions that I'm looking at. And then I could bring out the super iPad. And now I got two more over here. All of a sudden, buddy, we are rolling Big River in the Cameron household. We've got it.
Well, you can use the 100-incher this weekend for a decent slate of college football. It's not a bad slate. I think the 3:30 window is actually quite strong. And you can not worry about our stresses for a few hours. Now, there will be times within the course of said games where it'll be just like last year. And you see certain facets of certain football teams in the top 15 or the top 20 do things well. And you'll say, wish we did a little bit more of that. But I think it'll be nice for us to get a break from this weekend, all of us, just to watch other college football.
Yeah, it's interesting when we're not going well. I feel that way a lot. I love the sport. I love the game. I love the larger conversation. And it's, I wish we were part of the main character or characters. But it's, and I'm desperate for us to get back there. I just think we're watching a weird time in college football. I know that. What I think is making this more challenging is that it's not the same as it used to be, and there are no guarantees the way that there used to be.
But also what makes it frustrating is this is the easiest it's ever been to matter in the history of the sport.
Yes, see Vanderbilt at 10 and Georgia Tech at 7.
God almighty, we had some lost decade teams that be in the conversation in November.
Yeah, man. It's disappointing, Tom.
We would have made the playoff in 2005, beating Virginia Tech.
It's very disappointing. We need to respond. There's no doubt. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with.
This is Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage. Been in the industry now for 22 years. I just made the move over to the nation's largest retail lender, Cross Country Mortgage, here to serve you in 7 states, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and the state of Texas. Here to offer better service, better rates, and if you were thinking about buying or if you've been on the fence and been waiting to call me, now is the time. You can still find me at loansforknowles.com. That is, again, loansforknowles.com. I've helped thousands of fellow Knowles get into their dream home, and I can't wait to help you get into yours. Give me a call today. I'm at 954-369-6171, or go to loansforknowles.com. Again, that's 954-369-6171, and that's loansforknowles.com.
Equal housing lender, NMLS number 373031.
Hey, this is for my homeowner friends out there. You know who you are. When you get your grass cut, you're going to inspect the work, make sure it's good. Get your house painted, check around every corner and edge, make sure that's done right. Get a new roof, gonna get eyes on those shimmering new shingles. Get your septic tank cleaned. Bet you're not popping your head down in there to take a look around. You got to trust it's done right. I'll make it easy. Go see my friend Greg Miller, Miller Septic. They're my guys. I trust them, and you can too. MillerSeptic.com. That's it. That's the commercial. That's the whole thing. Check them out. That's MillerSeptic.com. Hey, let me tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the battle's end. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653.
Pay-per-view fights can ring up big bills, especially since in the Octagon, there is one every few weeks. That's why the 7 Pill Tap Room right downstairs from Corner Pocket Bar and Grill carries every single fight. Plus, unlike most pay-per-view bars, there's no cover charge. And drink specials, too, like $3 select domestic beers and more. And if you enjoy international soccer, 7 Pill opens early. $2 mimosas on Sundays, anyone? The 7 Pill Tap Room, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Just downstairs from Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee. Your Sports Flash update on Real Talk 93.3 in Tallahassee.
It has not been great this year for Jacksonville Jaguars kicker Cam Little. He has missed each of his last 2 field goals, and he's missed 4 on the season. Head coach Liam Cohen, speaking with the media, said that they continue to have a lot of confidence with him, and they are hopeful that he's going to be a lot more successful when the team comes back from their bye week. That's coming up this weekend, and then they'll play the Raiders the week after. Edge rusher Hassan Reddick of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he had to leave the game on a cart on Monday night. We should get more information today on just how injured he might be as the Buccaneers start to get ready for their game against New Orleans coming up on Sunday. Also on Sunday, the Dolphins play on the road against Atlanta. This Sports Flash is presented by Progressive. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo insurance and save with Progressive. I'm Matt Pauley on Real Talk 93.3.
Let's be honest, we all have way too much stuff. Maybe your storage closet is full, your garage is full, or the guest bedroom is a mess. Call Southeast Portable Buildings, 580-6400, or visit them online at southeastportablebuildings.com.
As you probably know, Fulmers buys, sells, and loans on just about anything of value. What you might not know is that when you buy something from us, we guarantee the total satisfaction of your purchase. Buy it, take it home, and if for any reason you decide you don't want it within 7 days, Fulmers will give you 100% of your money back. And if you decide you don't want the item within 30 days, Fulmers will let you exchange it for something you do want. At Fulmers, we guarantee you're going to be happy with your purchase or we'll buy it back. Fulmers, check cashing, pawn service, and sales. 2 times more than you might expect with 2 great locations.
This is Alex from Fulmers. We've been buying gold and silver jewelry, fine watches, and other collectibles for over 45 years. But did you know Fulmers buys and sells gold and silver coins, bars, and bullion? Don't get scammed online or pay high shipping and handling fees. Call or stop by Fulmers for a quick and easy quote. No matter if you're new to investing in bullion or have been collecting a lifetime, Fulmers is your local source for buying, selling gold and silver coins and bullion. Fulmers, more than you might expect with 2 great locations.
Injured? Call attorneys who care. Facing Brooks. Offices, Tallahassee.
Tired of watching baseball score updates on your phone? Get off the bench and head to the CP. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill is your home for all MLB games in-state or nationwide. Enjoy the coldest drinks, Tallahassee's best wings, and watch your team in crystal clear comfort. And if you'd like to compete, come by Tuesday nights for CP Trivia and Thursday nights for Beer Bingo, where you can walk home with cold, hard cash. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
This October, Tallahassee Marzook Shrine Haunted House returns. At 1805 North Monroe Street. Step inside for spine-chilling thrills, twisted corridors, and surprises waiting in every shadow. It's the perfect holiday adventure for you and your friends. Come test your courage and see if you can make it all the way through. The haunted house is open on select days in October, so check the schedule and don't miss out. Proceeds benefit the Marzook Shrine and their important work in our community. That's the Marzook Shrine Haunted House, 1805 North Monroe Street. Enter if you dare.
This is Brian Kilmeade, and I'm excited to be on the air in the capital city. Be sure to tune into my show. I'll be giving you all the latest news, information, and the truth you demand. The Brian Kilmeade Show is live from 9 till noon, right here on Real Talk 93.3.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing
And listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm Jeff, that's Tom. You're you. You guys are asking some questions in the chat. I'll get caught up. Haven't so far today on Twitter. It's at J Cameron Show. Thanks for listening to 93.3 FM. It's Tallahassee's only locally owned and operated radio station. That means you're supporting local. That's something we appreciate. And that's true, too, of Warchant, also local. And we appreciate those of you in the chat, those of you watching the show, listening to the show on the radio, downloading the pod later, and spreading the love of the Jeff Cameron Show. Hey, now. Very much appreciative. I saw yesterday, I saw Monday, see again today, questions about whether or not we would turn to Jimbo Fisher. And I have, for the most part, dismissed those as not a serious conversation. I see where Dustin, amongst others, asked the question about that. Jeff, why don't you want Jimbo back? Did he hurt your feelings somewhere along the way? My sensibilities are tougher than that, Dustin. They don't get hurt that easily. I'm pretty strong. But I just think that you have amnesia. You have forgotten how things ended here. He betrayed Florida State, turned his back on Florida State. And I believe that he failed at Texas A&M despite having every possible resource imaginable. What about the track record of Jimbo Fisher over the stint of, say, the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years do you find so appealing? Nostalgia. What once was often can never be again. Occasionally that's not true. But what people see is 2013 when they see Jimbo Fisher. They see some elements of 2014. They see the 29 straight. They see the unbelievable run from 2012 through 2014, and they say, it can be again, Jeff, but it makes them forget about 2015 and 16 and 17. Makes them forget that he was, I believe, 3-5 in the ACC that final year and 5-6 because he didn't get to do the last game. So he had a losing record when he left here. And then they forget that he got to Texas A&M, and by the end, he was responsible in 2022 for a 5-7 campaign and a 2-6 record in the SEC, followed by getting to coach 10 games that next season at 6-4, which is middling and not any better than the previous coach. He was a 4-loss coach the year before that. They were at one point preseason ranked number 5 before losing 3 straight games. Offenses were terrible, really slow. He was out of touch. No, I would just go by what the man was at the end of his time there when he was fired at Texas A&M and when he was out the door here and say, we can do better. I don't have anything personal against Jimbo Fisher. I don't. I thought that he at times was boorish and mistreated people and would be very difficult to kind of get a handle on in terms of who you were going to get on a day-to-day basis. But I shared a lot of really cool moments with Jimbo Fisher. There's aspects of that man that I really appreciate. We've had some private conversations that I'll hold near and dear to my heart for a long time. So there, he was Tom knows what I'm talking about here. He was a complicated dude. Things to like about him and some things to really dislike about him. But I think if you remove all of that and you just talk about the man that was coaching at the end, it wasn't good. He wasn't winning. He had players galore, and he still wasn't winning. And a lot of the stuff that happened at the end here left a really bad taste in the mouth of an awful lot of very powerful people at Florida State, and for good reason. Now, if he gets another job in college football and he is able to kind of fix some of those foibles and maybe have a different outlook with time to having reflected on the time away from the game and rectified all of it and did well somewhere, I'd be happy for him. I'd be fine with that. But good for him. Good for him. I largely root for people unless you're just a really bad human being, not just guilty of some, transgressions or behavior that are questionable, not just questionable interactions, but like if you're a bad human being, yeah, I don't root for you. Other than that, I largely root for people to do well. So if he went somewhere and got it together and they had success, like let's say he got back to West Virginia or something, or got a job at a G5 somewhere and took them to new heights and that little program did well, I'd be very happy for him. He certainly doesn't need the money. It's not that. I know he did an interview recently with Ross Dellinger. His actions are showing you and telling you that he wants to coach again. And now he's taken the next step. He's not just through his appearances on the ACC network and some of the things that he says in those appearances. He's not just kind of intimating that he'd like to be back in college coaching. Now he's doing sit-downs with people like Ross Dellinger in which he is saying, I want to coach college football again. And I think that's because, A, he's been away from the game, and B, he's 60. This is the last go-around. There's not going to be too many more other opportunities. His name is still out there enough where he thinks that by promoting this desire to coach college football and the fact that he doesn't need the money, he's got more money than he or many members of his family could ever spend if they wanted to. He could be attractive for the right job. I don't think Florida State would be interested in that. I could be wrong. It would be a choice. I'll tell you that. It would be an interesting choice given all that happened at the end.
Yeah, the only way it fits is to your point about him making a lot of money and him being set, and you could get him on the cheap. That's the only way that it makes sense. It's the only major pro other than evaluation and recruiting acumen that still plays, I think. But everything else,
I believe he's a very good assessor of
100%
of talent and what a player could be.
I don't think that goes away.
Right. I don't think it does either.
Yeah. So he could still see that. But if you betray this program and you forget what a privilege it is to be the head of this program, how do you get to lead this program again? That's a tough sell. That's a really tough sell. Even if he came here for $3 million, he'd be like, wow, quite a discount for Jimbo. I don't know, man. He turned his back on this place.
Well, but he also, again, he was 6-4, 4-3 in the SEC in 2023. He was 5-7, 2-6 in 2022. He was 8-4, 4-4 in conference in 2021. The COVID year, he had a great year. He was a 5-loss team the year before that. He was 2 games over 500 in the conference the year before that. It's not as if he went to Texas A&M and whooped ass. Even once he was given all of the things that he complained about not having here. And as is duly noted and correctly pointed out, he had elite recruiting classes after elite recruiting classes and lost with them. Lost way too many games for having all of that talent. Something was broken. Now, if you want to ignore the way things ended here and ignore this time at A&M and say, well, he learned from that and would do things differently, and there were other factors involved, well, then maybe you come to the conclusion that you want him back. I don't share that opinion. It's not because of any sort of animosity. It's not because of my feelings being hurt. That's not going to ever happen in a football interview or interaction with a coach. No, it's because of the record, because of what happened, because of the things that occurred.
You'd also sense a little bit more contrition rather than just the whole I'm on the dais and weeping and saying, I love this place. Yeah, okay. And I'm sorry for what I did. At that point, I'm here for a little bit more of the discussion rather than this effort, I think, to deftly, I'll give him this, to deftly rewrite history on how it all went down towards the end. Because it wasn't just A&M. It was LSU the year before. And there was LSU the year before.
Correct.
So stop. Enough. You deserve to be celebrated for all the things you did here. But to have that privilege again?
The thing of it is, Tom, I don't know that he would be, there was some contrition in that, he has said that he never wanted to leave this place. To which you would say, BS, you tried to leave this place before you ever got the A&M job. Twice. Okay. You wanted to go to LSU. I mean, we know that. 2 separate times. He would say,
I think you have to leave this place to be able to go there.
He would say, and I brought this up yesterday, he would say they forced my hand. I had no choice but to leave because this, and this, whatever. His relationships with Andy Miller that went south, or, his hatred of Stan Wilcox, or whatever he would say.
Anybody who was against him.
Or anybody who stood up to him.
Was perceived to be against him.
Right. Or, well, I mean, who just said no to something. But, there are 2 sides to every coin, and that's what he would tell you. He'd say, look, my hands were tied here. I couldn't do what I wanted to do moving forward here. And there are people who believe that. I think he was right about it. Some aspects of what he complained about. It's just that it became so toxic. And I remember one time he and I were talking about the situation at Florida State, and he was saying that, they just make it so hard to win here. And I pissed him off because I quipped, except for when you won the national championship and went undefeated 2 years in a row. It was just sort of a, and there was tension in that. I mean, like, come on, man.
Well, that second staff couldn't recruit on the level of the first one. That's also part of the problem. It's not like he replaced those stone cold killers on the trail that put together the roster for 12 and 13 and 14 with dudes who did the same thing. They were a lot of mid-level at best assistants and coordinators. And Florida State at the time was still spending top 10 in terms of assistant coaching salaries. So it wasn't because we were cheap.
They still spend tons of money on assistant coaches' salaries.
I'm just saying back then, in case we want to rewrite the narrative here, they wouldn't spend on. No, man, enough.
Well, look, I've said many times he could recruit his ass off. He could absolutely recruit his ass off. When people assert that and say we'd have good players, I agree. We had good players even in those years when he began losing games. I mean, the team that went on the road and got humiliated in record fashion by Louisville had a lot of good players on that team. The one that quit against Boston College.
Yep.
Was it 35-0 or whatever it was at one point in that game? Or
they weren't taking naps. There wasn't a nap that was being taken on the sideline.
So, I mean, like that, those things happen. People do, they block that out of their memory of his time here. I think there's room to, and I've said this as well, I always feel like you have to make sure you fill in the blanks because others will do it with whatever they assume your position to be. I have also said before that there's absolutely room for bringing him back to honor the successes of those teams in the years that it's done. When that happens, when they honor the 2013 team or the 2014 team for their regular season undefeated campaign and ACC title, whenever they do any of those things or one of his former players is honored in some way here, right? And is rightfully recognized as an all-time great in the league or whatever it might be. And then let's say he wants to be here to be a part of that, to be out on the field with a Rashad Green or, you know what I mean? Like if that sort of thing happens, absolutely, there's room for all of that. You can't not acknowledge those successes as well. I just happen to acknowledge the failures in the way things ended as well.
What do you think was going to happen if he stayed here? Let's just say he never left.
Well, we kind of already knew, we saw what was happening.
Right. Was he going to turn it around? Was he magically going to that he wanted at A&M? And he didn't succeed there. So what was he going to do here with less resources in an era before NIL, when the behind-the-scenes cash thing was much more important?
I think the magic that people want to rekindle, and they were awesome times. I can remember day one of Jimbo taking over, of going from head coach and waiting to head coach. And, I remember when he was just the OC, and then he was head coach and waiting, and then he was the head coach. And I remember day one, I believe it might have been, maybe misquoting, but I think it was a Sports Illustrated article or something like that in which he was having a staff meeting and talking about bringing in grown-ass men and changing the way that we recruit. And I remember being fired up about that. There were a lot of changes that were necessary. The game had begun to pass Bobby by. There were elements that were slipping. We had had those conversations for years.
Begun.
And listen.
I know. You're being kind.
So then Jimbo was in a position to be on that staff and recognize what was missing, and that way he could hit the ground running. And I remember thinking that was awesome because you had a distinct advantage in that way. And he did. Even that team, so that team that goes in 2010, 10-4, was already an indicator of where this was headed. He didn't have enough hosses yet, didn't have enough depth yet, but you were about to see a team that was moving in the right direction, right? That's the Chick-fil-A Bowl.
We understand where we're doing.
Yeah.
We understand where we're going.
The things which we do. And then so 2011, again, that's a 9-4 team, Champs Sports Bowl. There's the next year's 2012. That year, oddly, was seen and understandably as a disappointment because we were building towards this great thing, but you lose 2 games. You go 7-1 in the conference. You win the Orange Bowl. It feels empty because that was supposed to be a team that could make a run at the national title. And so you're like, damn it, man. Now what do we have? Can we take the next step? Obviously, Jameis provided that answer resoundingly. And then you just take off. You just don't lose games. You just start, and not just winning games, you dominate people. You're always building to that point, and all of a sudden the lines of scrimmage look better than everybody else's lines of scrimmage. Jimbo got that part right. Having been at LSU, having been in the SEC, and I'm going to return me to that point that I make all the time right here, right now, and where we have to get back to when the next guy comes in here, whoever that is. You have got to recruit the lines of scrimmage, offensive and defensive lines, as if you are an SEC school. You've got to be prepared for the war of attrition. You've got to find those players at the high school ranks. You got to bring them in mass. You're going to lose some of them. You got to bring them in mass. Everything else works out if you can dominate the line of scrimmage. Everything else. You could have slightly above average receivers and win a national championship if you dominate the line of scrimmage. Michigan. Just go and look. You can be in the hunt to win a national title if you're merely average at some of the skill positions, if you're dominant on the line of scrimmage. That's where Jimbo screwed up. Where Mike Norvell screwed up. We haven't had a dominant offensive line in the entirety of his time here at all. He allowed Alex to just kind of sit around and do nothing for a long time after that initial bump and improvement. All right. He didn't go out and demanded of his staff moving forward that they dominate in recruiting on the offensive and defensive line. A guy here or there, but they didn't have the requisite depth and the level of MFers you've got to have in those spots that you see week in and week out in the Big Ten at the upper echelon and certainly the SEC, which is what separates that conference from every other conference. There are plenty of conferences and teams in the the ACC and the Big 12 and back in the day, the Pac-12, that have similar to like talent at quarterback and receiver as the SEC. But they don't in the trenches. They don't have the big bitches coming in waves to dominate the line of scrimmage. Whoever this next guy is, no matter who it is, better do that and better make it a priority and better surround himself with a staff that can get that done. That's where it starts. I'll start worrying about the other stuff after you give me that. Then it's helpful. Then you become all-time great because you bring in Jameis Winston, who's got behind a bunch of studs on the offensive line. That year, that team had a dominant offensive line, and they got lucky. They didn't get hurt. You had Stork miss that one, but that you didn't get hurt that year. And those guys were dominant.
Well, next year you had a better offensive line, but the team wasn't put together between the years as strongly as the 2013 team.
Because they had reached the top of the mountain.
When you had Cam slide to center and Rod come in and play left tackle, that group was the best offensive line I've ever seen at Florida State. That group was tremendous.
So the point is, 2 of the best offensive lines you've ever seen existed during that time of dominance, because that's how it's done.
But then you take a look at Florida State's offensive line in subsequent years, in 15 and 16 and 17.
Yeah.
I mean, Dalvin was unbelievable at making dudes miss at the point or beyond in his own backfield in order to bounce and make 6 yards happen when -3 was what it called for on a given play.
Yeah, it had to be. That's who he was. He was unbelievable. But I mean, we could talk at length about where we want this to go and the guy that we need to bring in and who's possibly a candidate and how soon does it happen and when do we get word on this and who would he surround himself with? I get back to like the rudimentary stuff here. Just give me a guy who gets it, who understands that they've got to build that way, who just knows. That's why, oddly, Mark Stoops isn't a bad candidate. Do I want Mark Stoops? Not necessarily, but Mark's success at Kentucky happened because he understood that he had better build it if they're going to have any success at all at Kentucky, which is hard to do in that league at a place like Kentucky, was I better have the dudes that can compete in the trenches if I'm going to pull off the occasional upset over a Florida or over an Alabama or over a Texas A&M or whomever. He knew, like, okay, LSU, I better have some dudes. And there was a little window, a snapshot in time where it happened for him. And I remember us having the conversation on the air back then, like, Mark, you may want to ride because you can't sustain that at Kentucky. You did it. You built it up, but you can't keep doing that at Kentucky.
Honestly, he was a guy I would have been fine with before the Norvell hire if you'd brought Stoops in here, just because he also understood what we did with Jimbo 1.0. He saw it.
He's a good defensive coach.
You got the roadmap. He's a good defensive coach. He understands Miami as well. He has his own connections in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he gets it. Sometimes a guy from Ohio or Kentucky or wherever, they don't understand the dynamics of what it is to recruit in the Southeast or in a given state or Texas or Oklahoma. He's been here multiple stops recruiting the state of Florida.
How old do you think Mark Stoops is?
I think he's your contemporary, 50, and then no, you're a little younger. So I'm going to go 57.
Good guess. He's 58.
Okay.
I'm 54 for those wondering. He's 58. Obviously, the situation is not good.
It's not an inspiring hire on its own, but if it's one of those hires that you can sell and say whatever you need to say about the amount of money that we're going to dump into resources, player development, and you can get that message home, I think that's about the tier you're swinging for if you're not going to go grab the 11, 12, $13 million head coaches.
Well, and again, I'm not advocating for Mark Stoops. He's a guy that, again, I think would build it the right way in the trenches. And, you're right, though. He'd have zero juice amongst this fan base. There would be nobody who, few people would be like, yes.
And look, that
may not matter.
And that was 6 years ago. You could make the same argument, I'm sure a compelling one right now, about Stoops that you do with Jimbo. Time's over. Your time has passed.
Yeah, but Jimbo failed at the end at a place like Florida State.
Sure.
Mark is having a hard time sustaining excellence at Kentucky because he's in a league where they're not competitive, and it came and went for him. But he did do it. He did have a run that for Kentucky.
He had a second little bounce back too. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's done. I mean, he's had there. I can tell you this: when Warchant fell under the umbrella of On3, I would do interviews with the guys in Kentucky, and I would host this Sunday morning show where we would go all around the country and pick out the places that had On3 websites if their team had a big win or whatever it might be. And so you get to know the people, the different beats that cover these teams, right? And I remember asking him, one of the two guys that covers Kentucky, how is he perceived? This was at the height of Mark doing well. And they're like, well, they'll build a statue for him here. I mean, he's been the most successful coach they've ever had. He holds the school record for wins, school record for home wins, school record for SEC wins over ranked opponents. I mean, last year they beat number 6 Ole Miss. You remember that?
I do.
And Lane talked about how, hey, Mark's a good coach. He had him ready. He had a little something for us. It was his 5th straight season that he had knocked off a ranked opponent. Like, there's still, it's waning. He's in trouble, but he did things there that they had a 16-game win streak against non-conference competition for 4 years. Any game outside of the SEC, he dominated. And then he had a good enough record in the SEC. At one point, he had Kentucky ranked in the top 10. I would maintain that's the best you can do.
Oh, for sure.
And then,
it's pre-rev share. Yeah. It's also pre-rev share for that part of it.
Yeah.
So it's not like a situation that Cignetti is thriving in where an Indiana can succeed. Oddly enough, you would think they would give Mark another shot, but it's gone stale.
Well, once it goes stale, that's the other
very
problem.
stale.
Well, and Tom, we got to go break up. Made a specialized in these lengthy opening segments to each hour today. I do think there's something to be said for that. I don't want to forget that there was a moment, there was a snapshot where the current head coach at Florida State University proved he could coach. He did. I mean, they won 19 games in a row. It's really hard to do. They won the conference. They had talent littered throughout. Now, he got it through the portal by and large, and I think that's what led to some hubris. But he had found a way by hook or by crook to put together a team after inheriting a mess, and they were good. He hasn't been a complete failure. He did have some success, but once it begins to fall off and once you have setbacks, if you can't immediately flip it and get them turned around and get people believing again in the vision, if your message begins to run stale, and I think it is stale, it's really hard to get it back. I think it's really, really hard to get it back.
There's mold on that message.
Have you ever done the thing where you pull out you don't eat Raisin Toast, do you? I love Raisin Toast, but you just, to me, I don't think you would eat Raisin Toast.
I might eat Raisin Toast.
Okay, all right.
I got no problem with raisins.
All right.
I think raisins in general are delicious.
Just texture issues, I figured you might not like a raisin.
No, I like raisins.
Okay.
Sun-Maid, that was my favorite snack.
Well, I've done the thing where I put the Raisin Toast in the toaster, push down the button there, and I go off to do my thing, and I come back, and I butter it up, and I take a big bite, and then I notice that there's mold on the back end of one of the... Yeah. That's happened to me before.
That happened to me once last year with the potato rolls, because I always have potato rolls. That's what I put my breakfast sandwiches on, toast up a potato roll.
Yeah.
And all it needs to do is happen once.
Yeah, it's a toughie.
Where you pull the bread away, and you're staring it right in your grill.
It's tough.
So now... buddy,
it's a thorough examination.
I don't even want to open the bag. I'll like study the bag, the sides. Ugh. Is that just powder? Is that flour, or is that developing mold?
Most of the time, it's just flour and powder.
Yeah,
you don't freak yourself out over that. Chef Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
Barano Heating and Air Conditioning.
Tired of spending money on bug spray and inhaling all those fumes every time you want to go outside? Treat your yard so you can stop spraying your kids.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control has a solution to this persistent problem. Paul's has a program which seeks the grounds, flower bed, and shrubs. Paul's controls pesky mosquitoes year-round, which means you can take back control of your yard. Not only are mosquitoes a physical irritation, they also pose a potential health risk to people and pets. With Paul's targeted techniques, you can rest assured that your yard will be protected and your afternoons will stay fun.
Take back your yard. Don't let mosquitoes interrupt the fun. For more information, go to callpauls.com. For the elimination of termites or any other pests.
And a greener lawn, too.
Call Pauls. We'll get them all.
Pauls can help eliminate fire ants from your lawn, too. We'll help you take your yard back.
That chip turned into a crack? No worries. Better call Seminole. We'll fix your glass faster than you can say road trip.
Road trip?
Mobile service, expert installs, and no headaches. Call 850-539-4527, 850-539-4527, or go to SeminoleAutoglass.com. Your glass, your rules, but seriously, better call Seminole.
Seminole Auto Glass.
Your business doesn't stop, and neither does IOWise. From the trusted owners of Mac & More Systems, IOWise offers 24/7 IT support, cybersecurity monitoring, HIPAA and compliance consulting, cloud data management, phone systems, and full network design and security. For healthcare, finance, legal industries, IOWise specializes in keeping sensitive industries protected and connected. Local service, major protection. Visit iowise.com today and discover why smart businesses trust IOWise.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
From the championship stage to coaching change and everything in between, Warchant.com remains your home for the best FSU football coverage in the business. Brutally honest columns and features, market-leading multimedia presence across video and podcast, the largest FSU fan community with a staff that combines for over 100 years of experience covering the Noles. When change comes, Warchant.com is your home for analysis from every angle. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Sign up today.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Cool seeing Luke Laux and Charlie Ward up there together. And that's awesome that they're going to retire Charlie Ward's number. We had the good fortune of talking to Charlie Ward a few weeks back when Miami was in town, and also talked to Luke Laux at that same time. And at that time, at the end with Charlie, I was able to bring up the fact that there was a little birdie suggesting that was going to happen for him. And I think he was a little bashful, as he usually is. But Charlie's obviously a legend within the program and humble at that, despite the accomplishments. We'll see if he can get Florida A&M turned around. And obviously Luke is looking to do the same at FSU. And it's good that the two programs are playing one another in exhibition and that they're going to retire Charlie's number.
It's on Warchant Press Room, that press conference. I recommend everybody watch it because it's two folks. Of course, Charlie has so much history at Florida State and love for this university, but it's two head coaches of different programs having what I would term to be a better than I'm just here so I don't get fined time. A lot of times those are very awkward press conferences, especially in bowl game settings, championship games. Sometimes both coaches are on the dais at the same time, and it just feels forced. They were giving to each other during that presser. There was good exchanges back and forth. It's a lengthier presser, but I recommend if you have some time today and you want something that'll make you smile as a Nole, give you a break from all the rage, then check out that particular press conference. It was good. Luke was good, and Charlie was really, that's one of my favorite Charlie press conferences I've seen, because you see the competitor come out and he's talking about what his program needs to do. It's a good, fun watch.
Yeah, Charlie deep down cares very deeply about winning and being competitive.
You can see it, and I wish he'd let that out more, man.
It's in there. I've had those conversations with Charlie where it shifts from, I'm going to ignore the fact that you just gave me a compliment. I'm going to deflect the praise that you're heaping upon me. I'm going to not really engage in any conversation that would make me seem braggadocious. I've seen that shift from that to, well, now, you play to win the game. I mean, there's an awful lot of what for when it comes to that. And it makes perfect sense. You wouldn't have been in the NBA as long as you were. You wouldn't have been a Heisman Trophy winner here and a national champion. You wouldn't have been any of those things if you didn't care deeply about succeeding and silencing your detractors and besting your opponents. He does. And obviously Luke has got early on, I think the returns on Luke are that his gift of gab is self-evident. His ability to kind of position and talk about the program and what he wants to do with it is inspiring.
There's a really good moment in that presser today where Luke Laux draws on a story from when he was here as a student early in his career. And he said before they built the Taj Mahal out there for the football-only facility, when it rained, the football team would come over to the basketball facility because it was newer, and that's where they would do their routes and all kinds of stuff. And he was hopping on the elevator one day, and Bobby Bowden and him shared the elevator together. and he was nervous. And he told him a story about his dad. And then he asked him about coaching. And he said, any advice for coaching? And he said, Bobby put his hand on my shoulder like he used to do. And he said, well, son, the important thing is you just got to win by a point. You got to score one more point than the other team. And as he's telling the story, you can see Charlie sitting next to him, flashing back in his own mind to listening to the voice of, because he knows what it sounds like from Bobby Bowden.
Sure.
And there's just a humongous smile on his face. It's a really cool moment, and I think y'all should watch that. It'll make you smile too.
Well, everybody could use that. Everybody could use a little bit of that. Again. I don't know, man. I am excited for basketball. I've talked a little bit about it. I think we're going to have much more in the way of these conversations in the coming days because people will begin to transition in their mind to Florida State baseball and Florida State basketball. That's where this is going to happen almost prematurely, I might add.
I think it will too.
Yeah.
Our schedule is tough, obviously, because Luke wished it to be tough.
Yeah.
But I hadn't reviewed it to see what we got other than you got the Florida game November the 11th.
Yeah, early on, that's the toughest one to navigate. They're the defending national champions, but everything else surrounding that game.
Yeah, it doesn't get tough till after Thanksgiving. You
Right.
got A&M on the 28th, and then we host Georgia on December 2nd, and then we go play Houston on the 6th. So it ratchets up at the end of football season. The literal end is we're going to be finding out what the comprehensive assessment has yielded in terms of insights, and we will get recommendations for the future of the program after that comprehensive assessment is complete because it will be at season's end. That's when basketball is going to be playing a lot of high-profile teams in a short period of time, about a week and a half.
You know, the thing with the team this year is playing well enough to hold on to the recruits that you have verbals from for next year, right? Like to do enough that they're not aghast. Do enough to where they're not like, you know what? Now that I think about it, great pitch. I'm out. Although I want to tell you, and I have said this before, and maybe not on the record, but of the people that I talk to, not just within the basketball program, but people who follow the recruitment of the big three that they got verbals from, like the Marcus Ponder crew and all that, seem to suggest that those guys are resolute. They are not like, they're not going to let this year, whatever it is, affect their commitment. They're all in on Florida State's future, that they're pumped about it.
Well, should you have a conversation with anybody over in the basketball program in the near future, I would be curious to hear if they believe that those players will sign during the early signing period, because that's right around the corner, and that would be some nice momentum.
It would be. I will have opportunities to talk with that coaching staff, and one of the things that they've done a good job of is opening themselves up to conversation about what it is they're seeking to implement and what it will look like if they get it right. They're very candid about the challenges from an NIL standpoint and rev share standpoint. They're very candid about knowing that, hey, look, not a lot in basketball circles anyhow. Not a lot is expected of them, and they embrace that and say that's fine. Oh, nowhere to go but up. And Luke has said repeatedly he likes those kinds of challenges. I believe him. If you're sitting next to him when he says it, you can see the conviction. You can feel that. And I think because of the way that they're going to play and some of the people they brought in who can really shoot it, they're going to be a weird team and a fun team. They're going to beat some people they have no business beating. And then they're going to turn around and lose some games they probably have no business losing when it's not falling. I mean, I think they're going to have a weird team to get a real handle on game to game. We'll see. I think where they'll struggle, at least in some games, is if you're just looking at the roster construction, I think they could get exploited down in the paint a little bit. But, I'll
offensive rebounds against points in the paint.
Yeah, I think they can probably be exploited a little bit there.
Second chance points, all that stuff.
It'll be frustrating.
Well, also when you face a team that just pounds it into the court and runs it down for 30 seconds at a time.
Well, that's because you're going to be trying to dictate tempo and they're going to be trying to dictate tempo, but that's the age-old battle anyhow.
And if they rebound the ball better than you, to your point, so if you don't have an answer on the glass and then they want to run a low possession game, that's where you can get in really deep trouble. The good thing is, if you ever want to get up and down the court, you just learned in the first exhibition game of his career against Alabama and the speed that they run, which is the fastest, we're in pretty good physical condition. They're not peak right now, but they're in really good condition already.
Oh, that had to have been really, I think, quite exciting for him to see. You know, I think that anytime you're playing an exhibition game against a team that was in the Final Four of the Elite Eight and has had a run like that, like Alabama did, you're pumped about the idea of, all right, they want to play as fast as I'd like to play. They've been playing that way. I don't know that this bunch is ready to play that way. Let's find out. And the result doesn't matter. It's all just going to teach me something about how much further we have to go or how far along we are. And I think walking off that court, he had to have been pleasantly surprised from I would say from a being in shape standpoint, physical standpoint, that he had to feel pretty good about where they were. Because that was impressive.
I enjoyed watching that broadcast. It's been a minute since it's an exhibition game. I'm like, you know what? I know that we're playing volume basketball here. And I would be mad at Allen Iverson or Carmelo Anthony back in the day, but we're not good enough to just be selective. We got to keep going. And I love the idea. He understands the job he took. That's the best thing I can say about Luke. He understands exactly what this is and what it isn't, more importantly.
It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Our local news now.
Suspects involved in a car chase after evading a traffic stop are still on the run from Grady County Sheriff's Office deputies after they crashed their car. The suspects were being pulled over for a traffic violation around Georgia Highway 93 south of Cairo at about 10:30 p.m. Saturday. They were driving a 2025 white Kia with Albany license plates. The driver refused to comply with the traffic stop and took off at high speeds. Deputies chased the suspects, and during the chase, the driver attempted to lose deputies by turning onto Blackshear Road. There, the vehicle lost control and crashed into a farm fence in a wooded area. Multiple people got out of the vehicle and ran into the dense woods after the crash. Upon securing the vehicle, deputies discovered a significant quantity of contraband along with illegal firearms. According to the sheriff's office, the suspects are still at large. The investigation is currently active. The agency said that if anyone has any information, they should call the Grady County Sheriff's Office immediately. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update. Brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Bright sunshine expected this afternoon with a high of 81. Winds out of the north, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows around 50 tonight, clear skies. Mainly clear tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 80. Bright sunshine expected Friday with highs around 82. 81 Saturday. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 78.
Football season is here in Tallahassee. Are you ready for backyard watch parties, burgers on the grill, and game day glory? Wait, now with those leaves piled up like a linebacker blocking the end zone. Call the Lawn Johns. We'll tackle those falling leaves, clean up your yard, and lay down fresh pine straw or mulch so your lawn looks like a championship field. Don't fumble your fall cleanup. Call the Lawn Johns today, and let's score you the best-looking yard on the block. The Lawn Johns. Your lawn, our game.
Hey, Jeff, what's up, buddy?
I was just thinking, they never tell you that when you grow up, one of the things that you'll miss are the games that you created with your friends in the neighborhood.
Wow, good days.
So I would have my buddy come over, and then we'd make up these games that were kind of like a hodgepodge of every game that you've ever played.
Kind of like the bikes we built.
Correct. Yes. And it's a grand experiment. In the beginning, nobody knows how to play the game, and you argue about what the rules are going to be. And in the end, everybody knows how to play the game. By the end of that summer, you know the rules, the neighborhood know the rules, and you play that game like it's the greatest game ever played.
And you still try to break the rules, right?
Oh, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But at the end, Eddie, you're never going to play it again, and you'll think about it the rest of your life.
And the best game you ever played was that game.
Never been a better one.
Hey, you want to have a Gordo Smash, Jeff?
I do. I'd like that.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Yeah, lest I forget, man, you guys need to know about the CBD cornbread hemp gummies, don't you? Can you make little stars float? There it is. Good job, Tom. If you're looking for a natural way to relieve aches and discomfort, you're looking to get some sleep, you want some physical and mental wellness, Cornbread Hemp CBD Gummies, huge piece of the wellness plan in the Cameron household. At night when I go to bed, pop-a-doo, the Cornbread Hemp CBD Gummy. Good times, helps you feel better. And a little relaxation is something we could all use right about now. They use the best part of the hemp plant, the flower, for the purest and most potent CBD. All products third-party lab-tested, USDA organic to ensure safety and purity. Right now, Jeff Cameron Show listeners can save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/warchant. Use code warchant at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/warchant. Remember to use the code warchant. There you go. Ooh. Floating around. I would like to float around. I would also like to see progress next week in the behind the scenes and the things that we're hearing about what's possible. Wouldn't that be great?
You mean things that would be described as details?
Details, progress. We can't just keep hammering the nail. It is thoroughly cemented. It is in its spot. There's no place further down it can be beat down to. It's done.
I can't believe they did it. You crazy sons of guns over there. You did it. You let this continue. It is something.
Well, yeah, I think that there's the realization, I think sometimes, like, you ever had a conversation with somebody who is in the know in a field that you're not in, right? Like it's
during the ACC lawsuit, I had a lot of those conversations.
Yeah, so attorneys.
Yeah,
you'll get a lot of that from attorneys, by the way. But like, you've got a buddy that is in the financial game.
Sure.
And you'll hear him say things that never occurred to you because that's not your expertise. That's not your area of study. That's not what, and you'll go, wait, what? Really? Oh, yeah, most people think it's this, but it's really this. And then they explain it to you, and it's illuminated for the first time in your life. You're like, well, that's terrible. Like, you realize how unemotional, uncaring it all is. It's just this. It's a set of data points. It's numbers. It's a math equation. Like, we got to take that hill. How many people are we going to lose? Well, we're going to lose 60% of the platoon, but we'll take the hill. All right, then it has to be. Voila, 60% of them are dead. Guy just made a decision. Has to be. We need the hill. So this is really what it's like in athletics all the time, or really any field. There are just things that are empirically true where you're like, if you really knew how little they cared about you, it might piss you off enough to never come back. I think there's that, and they can never say it, and they never would. That's politicians. That's any of them. They don't really care about you. So, but they'll say all the things they need to say so that it sounds like they do. And the ones that are the most convincing can sway you, but they don't. And I think there's a lot of that takes place in athletics, in big time college athletics. You've talked about being at like a Christmas party and have relatives that you don't see all that often, and they know the field you work in, and they'll be like, hey, so and then there's wonderment, they're so excited in the way that you were before you got in the field. And then sometimes it's great what you can tell them. Sometimes you're like, you know what? That dude is a good guy, or that kid is a great kid, or you know what? They really did do this right, and they did provide for so-and-so, so-and-so. And other times you're just like, I probably shouldn't tell him this. He'll never view the program again the same way.
One of my brother-in-laws told me, I don't want to hear that. I'm like, okay, I can stop.
Yeah.
We can stop now.
Yeah. I remember when my buddy started working in Major League Baseball, he was so fearful that the deeper and the higher up he went on the ladder, and the deeper he got involved in the way that things worked behind the scenes, he would worry that he would lose his childlike wonder over a game he absolutely adores, right? And luckily for him, for the most part, that didn't happen. He found out there were aspects of that job, like any job, that he didn't like, but that he still went to the ballpark loving the game. And I think we still love the sport, love the game, love But there are aspects of it where you're like, man, I wish the average ticket holder understood how often they are completely ignored and not thought of in the big picture.
Yeah, there's some stuff you gain a different appreciation for it. It doesn't mean when the ball kicks off you feel differently in that moment, but in the lead up, how you root for people, I think that changes and evolves. Is how you root for certain individuals, be them players, coaches, or administrators.
Mm-hmm.
I think you root for them differently, and this is why we're all in the media so fascinated with press conferences, because you know some off the record stuff and you see how they deal with it on the record, knowing more than they're putting out there. You're like, okay, I'm gonna remember that little twitch in a nose the next time I see it with my NFL team, because something's going on.
I know. Yeah, by the way, the first time you ever learn of somebody's tell behind the scenes too, that's often funny. 2 Live Hollywood. Tom, I need your Cash App. Great job reading my question Monday. I jacked that all the way up. Laugh out loud. Mike said a lot of nothing. I hate when an outsider tells me what my team should be. Well, I addressed this already. I don't think there's much Mike can say. Jags and Knowles, can you think of another time with this many kicks to the cojones? Pandemic hoops, Tennessee check swing, Jimbo fiasco, snub, 2-10, mid-Mike buyout.
COVID basketball team.
He said that one, yeah.
Did he? Oh, pandemic hoops.
Yeah, pandemic hoops, yeah. Jacob says, with Vitello to the Giants, do they pursue Link? I mean, they'll certainly kick it around. They'll kick around the idea, I would guess. Thank you, new member, Mr. Dennis WM.
From Waste Management.
Okay.
Get us tickets. We'll go.
To the Waste Management?
The WM.
I'm going.
That's right.
Let's go.
Wear a poncho.
I'd love to go. Well, they've and again, a lot of people say Link isn't going anywhere, and I had a lot of people respond to what I was talking about before. I'm just talking about the constant fear we all feel. Being in the ACC. Got to get out of this place, man. Got to get out of this place.
Mister, get me out of here.
Final hour, forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show 93.3. Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.